Hey everybody, I'm Yvonne with Back to Earth Creations, and in this video I'm going to be recreating this wire wrap moon pendant, but I want to do some things different. We made this the other day in a live stream and I'm really digging it. I wanted to do this style of wrap but with a moon instead, but then I was running into that the tips needed like grounded into place. So instead of doing the spiral up at the top, I ended up doing one at each side. And I think I'm going to make a couple of different like modifications. We're going to have we're going to do 2 wires through on each side. So the bail is going to be double thick to what it is. Very much like how this bail is. I'm just trying to visualize. I think that'll look pretty cool. Or I'll hate it. I don't know. We won't know until we try. So let's get started. I'll introduce the tools and materials that we're using along the way, but all of them will be listed down in the video description, as well as the cabochons that we're using that we actually sell at our shop, backtoearthcreations.com. And we're going to be using some 18 gauge square in vintage bronze from parawire.com. About 10 or 11 inches, depending on the size of your cabochon. You might want to use, if you're using, a larger piece, you might want to cut yourself about 14 or 16 inches. It's just, I'd always rather have a little bit more wire than what I need than not quite enough to do what I want to do. Because sometimes I never know. I was trying to do this design and this is how it ended up. Sometimes you never know how it's going to come out. So I use the square wire. The flash on its surface is what I use to make sure that it is like not twisted. So there's 3, and let's go ahead. Ooh, I caught it. No, I didn't. It's on the floor. Oh, I dropped it again. We're gonna do 4 segments of this wire. There we go. Super professional, but that's okay. And a snip. Alrighty. And then we're going to use this 18 gauge half round in a titanium tone. I wanted to do this in all of the titanium tone, but I was out of the 18 gauge square, so that's okay. We're going to do 7 inches of this half round wire for this part of wrapping. And then I'm going to do 2 sections of 3 inches for this part on each side. And then we're going to cut a length of 12 inches for the bail. That should give us more than enough. And as an attempt to try to remind myself, also, I just want to say these are the best wire snips I've ever used. You can't cut through memory wire with them, but they have been chomping through multiple strands of 18 and 16 gauge for me for years, and they're doing pretty good. They're probably, not as sharp as they once were, but I'll take it. And they were like $6. So those are linked down below. I'm going to be using my flat nose pliers. And I'm going to come in about 2 or 3 inches just to remind myself that I want to have a little bit of tail. I'm going to give myself a little bit more. But just to remind myself that I want a little bit of tail on our bail. That'll make sense hopefully later. All right, so we're going to take these. We're going to start in the middle because that seems as good a place as any to begin. And we're going to get all of our wires lined up. I love using the square wire for this, but you can also use round wire, either in a 16 or 18 gauge. Both of those work well. 20 gauge is just a little thin for my taste, but you can still totally make it work. And I'm just going to begin by doing 1 wrap around all of our wires. And then a second wrap. And we can, with our half round wire, you can tell which side is the flat side based off of the flash. So here, if you can see how the side flashes and it's all bright all the way across versus how this has darkness on either side, that's the round side, and I want that facing out. So we have the flat side facing in. And we're gonna straighten up our core wires, and I love my flat nose pliers for doing that. And then we're just gonna go boop and smush our half round onto the core wires. And then I'm gonna grab an end of it and just kind of tug to make sure. Whoop. I'm gonna zoom back out because I don't want to just spend the whole tutorial out of frame. But if you're watching on YouTube, you may be able to touch the screen and zoom in if you're watching like on your mobile device or a tablet or something. And so I'm just going to continue wrapping. I like to smush those first two just because it holds everything else kind of more or less in line. You could use a ring clamp or any sort of, you could tape the wires together to get them to stay. But I'm just going to come through and then smush. Oh, lovely. Absolutely love it. And if your hand's cramping up from gripping, which is something that I still struggle with, I think I'm as healed up as I'm going to get from my hand injury, but now it is a struggle to not overwork. So finding balance in all things. And that's where our wire ended up. Now I'm going to trim this wire so that it's terminated on this side as well, but a little closer to the center, if that makes sense. Like close to the center of our core wires. And now we can scooch and make sure that this is centered up on all of our wires there like that. I'm going to compress it a little bit more. We're going to grip. You can be real precise if you want. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So let's come in 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then I'm going to bend right there so that it's symmetrical. And I probably didn't need to have bent it as sharply as what I did, but let's go ahead and grip it on the other side and open it back up just a smidge. And we're going to be using one of these blue goldstone moons, but you can see we also have some in this like pink fossil coral, that some of these will have a prettier side than another. That's why we have pictures of both sides on our website. And then here we have some in lepidolite. We have one in rose quartz. We have a red jasper, a green aventurine, and Amazonite. So these are just a couple of the different flavors, I suppose, of what we can carry on our website. But in our most recent shop update, we did the blue goldstone, and I just, gosh, look at the shimmer in that, you guys. The camera just doesn't do it justice, truly. But we do new shop updates every Monday, so if we don't have what you're looking for this week, we might have something for you next week. So we're going to line up all of these again, and we're going to take one of our 3-inch lengths, and more or less in the center of our length of half round, I'm going to do our 2 wraps, and I'm going to grab and tug, and grab and tug, and then smush, and then kind of tidy everything up. And then from there, we're going to do our little wraparounds. Now, you'll notice I folded this whenever I bent it so that the loose ends of our half round wire are kept on the inside of the wrap. And that way, there's less potential pokey bits for snagging our skin or hair or clothing. And so as we wrap this, I want to make sure that I'm terminating my wires on that same inside. So I'm just going to come in and smush and then squish. And then we're going to flip to the inside. I just flick those up just a little, and then snip and snip. There we go. Get those compressed back down. And this is a pretty common way to start a variety of frames. So for like different wire wrap styles. So I invite you to use this as just a template. Feel free to deviate wildly. Try as many different variations and ideas as what you can, because honestly, that's what's so fun, I think, about wire wrapping, is all the different ways it can go sideways and become something new and interesting that you know, my favorite wire wraps have been mistakes that I've made, that it's like, oh wow, now what if we did it this way? It keeps it spicy. It keeps it fun. And especially when it's like, I think I know how it's going to come out, especially if I think it's not going to work. Oh, that's whenever I think it's most important to go ahead and try it, because the number of times I've proven myself wrong, that it's like, you know, I had judged something as, oh, I don't think that's going to work. Well, let's try it anyways. And if there's a crafter, there's a way. We're going to lift those ends. There we go. Snipping those down. Now we're coming in. Okay, so I'm going to take I didn't mean to whistle a bit, but I'm going to take a little bit of a moment and a little bit of a breath, because this next part is kind of tricky for me, because oftentimes my pliers will slip. So we just got to be careful and we'll get it. So I'm going to use my ruler from middle school. And we're going to come up. You don't have to be super accurate with this, but I want to give myself 25 millimeters between, like, of gap between our two wrapped sections. There we go. And it doesn't have to be perfect, but oops, I am striving for some semblance of symmetry if I can manage it. And just starting with, this is an easy measurement to take, you know, may as well try. So you can see here, we're lining up, and I don't want to be grabbing onto the second wire. I just want to grab that first wire, and I'm going to support with my ring finger right here. And I like to get all fingers on the project. I'm supporting with my pinky from below, applying pressure to this wire with my middle finger, applying pressure to our lower. So like everything is stabilized as much as I can. And I'm going to grab, and I'm doing this motion with my hand. And so I am pressing. Do you see how that did? And we can, now that we've got that done, we can deepen it up a little bit. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side, just get as stable of a hold as I can, pressing kind of like a contrary pressure, just an opposing force. So now as we turn, and you'll notice this one I turned in the other way, and it's so that they both ended up the same. Now I'm going to scooch those down. So now that is what will support the back side. You know, or the front side, it depends. Usually I reserve deciding which side's going to be the front and which side's going to be the back until I've made both sides, and that way if I messed one of them up, that one's going to be the back. So we don't have to decide that just yet, but I am going ahead and making sure that I'm applying pressure in the same spot. And we're going to come in, grab onto just one wire, and then we're going to bend in just like that. Practice will make progress, you guys, but be patient with yourself. Be patient and be persistent. You will get better at this. The more you do it, the better you'll get. I don't know why that one came out like that. Came out just a little different than my other ones. That's fine. This side's going to be the back. I think I didn't have my resistance on in the same spot, perhaps, or I don't know. And then my pliers slipped anyhow. But you'll see, this would be great if we were wrapping like a coin or something very thin. But we have this dummy thick moon. And so I'm going to grab here, and I'm going to lift kind of up. And you'll notice I'm grabbing kind of the whole tip, but then along the length of the short wire. So I'm not just grabbing here. Let's see if that would work. It would, but I prefer to grab like that because it makes me feel like I get more leverage. And you can see that's just opening that wire up to be accommodating for our thick stone. Ooh. And so now we can take this and we can just drop that on down. Oh, that is so nice, and I love it. Oh, I guess I could have curved this around a mandrel first, but now that we have our stone in there, I'm just going to press it in and round that up. Oh, I'm digging it. So now from here, you know, and I don't know if I'll be able to replicate this exactly, but I'm going to try to. And if it goes a little weird, then I'll just try again in another tutorial. But I'm going to make a pendant with you guys today. If nothing else, that's what we're doing here. Okay, so what we had done on that one is we took the frontmost wires and the backmost wires, which this is our front. But I'm going to take this and I'm going to bring it around town, just coming into a spiral, and I'm going to stop right there. And then I'm going to come in and I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Just trying to keep them kind of symmetrical. Ooh, I just had an idea. All right. Okay. So now we're going to come in, just tweaking as we go. And I'm going to do the same thing to the backmost wire. I'm just going to bring it around and have it kind of swoop off to the side. Okay. And then I'm going to take this side and we're going to come around. Whoop, just shaping. Sometimes I feel like I'm trying to trick myself by being like doing sound effects and have it be positive, to be like, it's gonna work, and then like going. I don't know. It's more fun for me. Sound effects make it fun. I don't know what to tell you. Okay. And so the tips aren't exactly symmetrical. We'll figure out how to deal with that. And so I think from here, I'm going to go ahead and build up a second layer. I don't know if this is a good idea or if it's necessary, but here we are. And then I'm going to build up that second layer on this side as well. And just trying to have my wire exit in like the same direction at the same angle, or at least in relation to, you know, if there's a bend here and there's a bend here, then I'm going to try to have it pointing to the center of the bend on each side, that sort of thing. Helps me to go a step at a time and build like a gentle, organic symmetry. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it's pretty symmetrical every step of the way, and that's better than not, if symmetry is your goal. Okay, so now I'm going to build up that same layer on the other side, just building that around. And on this one, I'm going to have it exit in a different direction. And so we're just going to build. I'm using my thumb to press to keep it from building up into being like extra 3D. So you have this one kind of angling up. And so now from here, we can actually take this, and well, you can see it kind of forced the end of the moon away, but we can bring these ends together and kind of just pinch the moon into stability as much as we can. If it's just not going, then we can open it up some more, perhaps. Oops. Because what I'm thinking is that if we take just a little bit more of either our 18 gauge wire, or we could use, oh, I just cleaned up all of my scrap wire. I want this to be like hidden, so I'm going to grab some .26 gauge in the same tone as our core wires, because again, I want it to be hidden. And I'm going to snip myself off about 1.5 feet or so. Let me get all situated. And this should be more than what we need, but instead of cutting off 2 short pieces, I'm just going to do this longer piece, and then we'll see where it goes from there. And I am going to thread through these 2 loops, and I am just going to stitch so there's, well, here, let's start with doing 5 coils. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's go for 10. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 to stabilize our wire. I am not going to squish it right now because this square wire will totally, like if I squish into it, it'll just hold and hold and hold. So I'm going to try to very gently tuck just that little wire end down. But my goal here is I want it to still be able to slide along the length of our square wire. Is that going to be the front or the back? Cool, this is the back side. That's perfect. So I'm going to do that initial coil on the back side. And you can see I'm just trying to squish it around. There we go. To right here. And now I'm going to sew both layers together as though the wire were both the needle and the thread. So there's 1, and then 2. Before I go too much further, I actually think I'm going to go ahead and start the stitching on the other side. That way we can try to balance the tension somehow, because this one doesn't need to be completely butted together if this side's going to have that huge gap. Like, does that make sense? I hope it does. So I'm going to pull off another section. And we're going to do the same thing over on this side with the 10 little coils. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, squish. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, squish again. And then I'm just going to snip off that tail, and I figure we'll tuck it real good with our bent nose pliers later. And then I'm just going to slide this around, keeping it on the inside side of the frame, just because that's how it is on the other side. And now let's see if maybe undoing a stitch on this side might let us, let's see, pull that wire out. It might be a little finagly, that's okay. You'll get it. Yeah, let's go ahead and open that up just a little. And then we're gonna come around on this side and stitch through 1, I hate that it's a very dark wire. I mean, it's what I have, but I hope you can see okay what's going on. Okay, so we've stitched the 1, and now I'm gonna go 2, being careful to not hook around any of the other wires. It can be tricky, but be patient. Be patient with yourself, be patient with the project. You've got this. So there's 2. And then I'm going to start with 5 on this side, and then I'm going to go back to the original side, and we can start working with the tension. I've lost count already. I think that was 3. Trying to make sure it's not like a bubbly mess with like wire kinks and messiness. There's 4, then bringing it around, and there is 5. There we go. And you can see possibly what I mean by it's a little bubbly and weird, or something I can point with. Like just right in here, it's a little messier than I would have liked. I don't know why that happened, except for my tension maybe wasn't that great. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to squish it. It is amazing to me constantly. I am constantly amazed at how much just kind of squishing it a bit really helps for a lot of these wire wrapping projects, to just kind of, when in doubt, squish it out. And then also, if it's not resolving, don't sweat it too much. We're going to be doing so many other layers and things going on here. We don't need it to be perfect. We just need to be crafting. And so I'm going to push this side in a little. That should help. And I'm going to push that side in a little. That should help. But now these are going to be in the way. So I'm just going to bend the wires. These two wires will end up being our bail wires. So I'm just going to kind of it's not fluted and it's not flanged. I don't know. I just kind of splay it open, almost like the mouth of a vase there. I feel like there's a term for that, but I don't know what it is. And so now, by bending these sides in, I'm hoping that'll give us just a little bit more room to be able. So we did one stitch. There's a full second stitch. And then a full third stitch. Almost got a kink in it. That's okay. 3. Oh, that's what it is as we go and it pulls tight, what was good tension for me initially is now kind of loose and messy. Okay. So that makes me wonder if maybe a figure 8 stitch would be better for this. But also it's probably going to be hidden. I'm not going to, get sweaty about it. 3. Oh, and you know what we can do? Heck yeah. I'm going to splay this open just a little bit more because we're going to need to get in there. We did our 5 wraps. So now I'm going to take our loose end and I'm going to come through and I'm going to wrap around those wraps. And so this will be our first full loop. And again, I really hope that this is going to be visible. So I don't know if you can see. So we did our like 5 or 6 wraps around both of those, but our tension was kind of weird. So now I'm going to try to fit 5 wraps, but I'm just sewing through between the wire and the moon. Grabbing that wire with my pliers and pulling it down. And kind of squishing that into place. So there's 3. Sewing that through, grabbing the end of that wire. In hindsight, I should have done this in silver, but I'm doing my best and I appreciate y'all being here. And so I'm only really focusing on snagging the top part of these wraps. Pulling down, there we go. Then I bet I can do at least one more. Like I'm not trying to get the layer that came through on the bottom as well. I'm just getting the top part. Though, really, I wonder if I can get through. I'm going to zoom back out before I forget. I wonder if I can get below those stitching. So to do that, I'm going to go way far back on the moon. I don't think it's necessary. I'm not going to, that's exactly what I said, to even if I don't think it's going to work, I'm still going to try it. Okay, so I've grabbed my round nose pliers and I'm going to try to just make a little bit of a gap, making sure that I'm kind of just using them as the awl because that's what I have right now. And then I'm going to take this wire and I'm going to feed it down and through. But yeah, especially whenever I think it's not going to work, we should go ahead and try it anyways, because you never know. But yeah, so you can see now how that's traveling behind that whole spiral. And we're going to pull through. And my hope was that it would bring the front and back spirals together as a way of kind of just, oop, bumping the tripod, sandwiching and pulling that tension in together and just tightening it up. Like a cinch wrap, I guess is what I'm going to call it, because it cinches it in. Okay, so there's pulling through there, just making sure that I can get behind that spiral. Excellent. And now this will be our last one, because I don't think I can fit any more. I'm going to use my thumbnail as a ramp. You'll notice I cover my other wraps. That way as we pull on this, it just settles that new wire in, whoop, right next to all of our other wraps. So with our cinch wrap complete, I'm going to come in and snip. And I'm going to try to snip it a little more. And then I'm going to get in there and I'm going to burnish that in with my bent nose pliers so that there's no pokey bit. And there we go. And now, oh my gosh, there's a huge difference between the two sides. But, you know, that'll be all right. I'm going to do a cinch wrap on this side too, if I can fit it. It doesn't seem, I don't seem to be able to fit it. I'm going to do one wrap here. And what seems to have happened is my spirals seem to be closer together on this side than what they are on this side. So I wonder if I can force those apart just a little bit. I'm going to undo our wraps. Sometimes that's just what's required. And that's okay. So we're just going to carefully, and this parawire can usually take quite the rigorous use and abuse. This is some good wire. But if it breaks on you, what I would do is I would just take it off and start again. I mean, we're only going to be wasting. I don't ever feel like it's a waste if we're learning, and we're always learning. So don't worry about wasting wire. But it's only a couple of inches. I don't recommend to folks to try out new designs or new to you designs with like sterling silver, or like gold filled. Like, give it some practices in copper first. Yeah, so this one, I guess, since it was mirrored, I ended up starting it on a figure 8 because it went below and then came over. So I wonder if I undo that part and if I have it go, I'm going to bring that around just a bit, loop through, flomp. So there's one, and I'm going to try to maintain a little bit of opening. 2, again, for the sake of symmetry. 3, I do not mean to bump the tripod, but here we are. And 4. And then here's our 5. And I bet this would work pretty well on a heart shape too. You just do that like over like the humps of the heart. Hearts just look like upside down butts. I don't know what to tell you. I love hearts, but I can't unsee that they look like butts. Sorry, y'all. The intrusive thoughts won today. So this one didn't come out the same width as the other one, but that's okay. And it also feels like we're going to have an easier time coming up from below maybe? Let's get our all in here before I'm making all these statements in a certain tone. It's like, I bet. Huzzah! We can just open that up with our pliers. And now I'm going to sew through. And there's one. Lashing wrap, or binding wrap. Is that what we decided to call it? Cinch wrap, that's what it was. If you're having difficulty reaching it with your fingers, go ahead and use your pliers. These bent nose pliers are a game changer for me, you guys. Like, on just being able to access angles that I couldn't get at otherwise. And then there's another coming through, grabbing, and cinching down. There's 3. And then coming through. There's 4. Because again, I still at least want to do the 5 wraps to get it to match the other side. Ish. Match-ish. There we go. And I'm really going to kind of cinch that down. And then we can come in and give that the old snip, snoop, boop. And now these lengths are still long enough that we could use those in another project for something. And now also our moon is so well stabilized. Just by doing those little lash wraps there on the inside. This one's like very big and bulky. It's fine. It's fine. So we could do like a little spiral here, but I think I'm going to reserve judgment on what we should do next until after we've gotten past the next step. So I've changed my mind. I'm not going to do the double wide bail, but I am going to bring this in together. Oh, I love that shape, how it comes in like that. So now from here, I'm going to, and I do want to keep that 3 inches of tail. So I'm going to capture our front 2 or back 2. I don't know. It's not super important to me in my mind right this second if this is the front or back. But we're capturing 2 of the wraps, or 2 of the core wires, and wrapping around just those 2. And then we're going to press in. So I've changed my mind again. It might still be a quadruple wide, a 4 wide bail, but we'll see. I am rife with indecision. But look at how well that like just came up on either side. So now I'm going to take that and I'm going to wrap around all 4. And then, do we want to keep doing that? Or do we want to... I don't know. I'm going to bring these 2, at the very least, these center 2 wires are going to need to be parallel to each other because that's what I'm going to be wrapping. Do we want it to be super swirly? Yes. Okay. So now we've done 2 wraps so that there's 2 on this side and there's these 2 right here. I'm going to bend both of those out. And now I'm going to come through and we are going to use this half round to wrap these 2 wires until we have around 1.5 inches, 1.25 inches maybe on the meager side. It all depends on how large of a bail you want. If you want something that can accommodate like a 6mm thick like Viking chain or something, you might want to give yourself a bigger bail. If you're going to be, you know, doing a beaded necklace with this and you don't want a giant bail, then just do something a little more diminutive. I typically like to make my bails where they can accommodate like a 6mm thick chain. And so that's what I'm working for. And I do that because that's the thickest chain that we offer in our booth setup for whenever people buy a pendant from us, whenever we're at a vending event. We have a couple of different selections of chain that they can choose from. We sell our chain for like $5. I get stainless steel chain from like the Ring Lord and Panda Hall, and then we cut it to length and put, you know, a clasp and an extender chain on it. But it's just different styles of chain. And folks seem to be really receptive to that. Uh-oh, I went a little too far. Well, you know, it'll be what it is. I'll just leave it like that. And the thickest chain that we offer is 6 millimeters. So that's the only reason why I went with that. Like that was the whole thought process. So now I'm going to bend this forward just a little. While I'm here, I'm going to go ahead and trim these 2 wires to the same length as each other. And you could use a stick mandrel or mandrel pliers or a knitting needle or a pen or just what have you. But I'm going to take this and I'm putting it right there where I've decided I want the bail to be, the center of the bail. And I'm just bringing that around. And then I'm going to bring these 2 wires up. And then in a game of metal versus flesh, the metal wins, you guys. So go ahead and use your pliers to get in here instead of your fingers. Go ahead and just use your flat nose pliers to get in there and just open that up a little. And we're going to have that one going off to that side, and we're going to have that one going off to that side. And now that we've done that, I can remove our stick mandrel. Looks like some kind of weird bug queen. I mean, I love it, but all right. And then we can go ahead and kind of smush a little and kind of smush a little. And then I'm going to bend that towards the back. And I'm going to bend that. Let's get that out of the way. I'm going to bend that towards the back. And then I'm going to bend that around. And right here, I'm going to go ahead and yeah, I'm going to go ahead and give that a snip. Because that's holding on there. I don't think we're going to have to worry about that coming undone. And now that gives us the room that we can grasp here and bend. And then we can go ahead and bend that in. And I didn't even need to trim that one hardly. It just seemed to be the right length. But I'm going to bend that up so that our loose end is butted. Oh, I probably shouldn't have snipped that at all, really. It would have fit perfect. Well, learn from my mistakes, y'all. But this side is the ideal one to me, how that is butted up. So now there's nowhere that it could be. Whereas right here, there's a little bit of a sharpness. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to lay my pliers down and I'm going to trim the sharp edge off. So now there's 2 sharp edges. No, and perhaps an emery board. There we go. Or a file or something to just, that's why that one's the back side. And then we might be able to get these to line up with each other just by using our pliers to grip them. There we go. So now I'm thinking and wondering. And I'm wondering and I'm thinking. I'm just moving this one forward. That way it's kind of out of the way. And I'm going to bring this side down, maybe. And then I'm going to bring that through. Because we could have this be very swirly. We could have this be very minimal. I'm going to go the swirly route just because, oh boy, I like swirlies. And so just bringing this down. I must still be feeling in that amphora mood from our previous craft along project. where it had like the little amphora handles. But I don't know, I'm just kind of digging it. Okay, and now we've run into one of our wires is shorter than the other. This is why I think it's always a good idea to have a little bit more wire than what you think you need on your whenever you're cutting it, because you know, it just gives you options. But I'm going to trim these so that they are the same length. And I'm going to use my round nose pliers to grasp. And then just come up in a little, whoop, a little spiral. And then I'm going to come up this way. Just shaping them and getting everything kind of there. I always end up liking one spiral better than the other. Like, I know I'm not supposed to pick favorites, but I can't help myself. And then from here, we could take this and wrap it up and bend it around. Just around to the front, like all the way. This one will just have a little curly Q on it, but that's okay. So this one wraps around. And then we'll come to rest in the center. And then I'm just going to trim right past there so that they're more or less the same size as each other. And then I'm going to make a real nice little, little like loop. Bump. Oh, yes. And then, sorry. I watch a lot of Futurama, and I love when Professor Farnsworth is like, oh, my, oh, yes. To pieces, you say. So there we go. And then what are we going to do with this little bit? Do we want to bring this? No, we don't want to bring that up. Harumph and grumble. These guys, crazy arms over here. Just going bonkers. Maybe. Oh, I can fit it. I just tucked it between two of the square wires and pulled it towards the back. And I think that'll be wonderfully pinched off. And then I'm going to take that one and just open it up a little and then snip it off there. And again, I can't even, like, these do such a good job of like getting in to the location that there's no little pokey bits. So I'm very, very pleased with that. Oh, I just had an idea, you guys. Okay, so I'm going to bend these up. What if we took like a wee bitty, where are you? I had like a wee bitty cabochon over here somewhere. Haha. And then, I don't know how, but there's got to be a way. I might not be able to do it with a cabochon, but I bet we could with a bead, y'all. Put a little bead in there. How would we do that with a cabochon? Because with our fused, this is one of our fused glass cabochons, and it's just a little thick, and I don't have something that I can grind it down easily, easy enough that I'm willing to do it. If I had like a lap or something, or a belt sander that I could put water on as well and sand this down to a little thinner, I think that that would be good. But currently my fused glass is just a little dummy thick. Though I don't know, I kind of love that. How would we make that work if we were to try to set that in? I wonder, where did that little bit, here we are. This is that little bit of extra 18 gauge that we had trimmed off the end. I'm going to take it by one end and hold it quite firmly. And then I'm going to use my nylon jaw pliers and just try to straighten it out some. Okay. And And then would I want to come in from above or below? I think from above. So what I'm going to do here is just using my round nose pliers, I'm going to start a little bit of a bend about the width of our bail. Like that. And I'm going to come through. Eep. Well, good thing it's durable, huh? And then using my round nose, or my mandrel making pliers, or mandrel pliers, or stepped bail making pliers, and I'm going to give it a little bit of that curve. Because if it's very tricky for me to shape it on the cab and on the piece, then I try to do the shaping, the fabrication, I suppose, off of the piece and then bring it into the situation. Okay, so I'm going to continue to round. I want to get this wire to where it is rounded over the face of the stone to this degree, because I need to accommodate the thickness of the bail, but I need it to be like cupping over the front of the stone. Or it's not a stone, it's fused glass, but regardless of what it's made of, the concept is the same. Okay, and so now we can bring that through there and set that in like that. I'm going to curve these ends just so we can pass it through the middle. I'm going to need to bend this in just a little more. I don't know if this is going to work, but I'm excited that we're trying it all. And then I'm going to use my pliers because, again, there's not quite enough wire here for me to get a good, nice grip on. Uh-oh, I pulled it too hard and it distorted the whole thing. Is that okay? So I'm going to try opening this up just a little and shifting that around just a smidge. It doesn't always go smooth, but it didn't need to. It's the fun is in the struggle sometimes. Welcome to the struggle bus. Ooh, now that's got me wondering. Let's see. I wonder if I come in on this side and do that like that, and then I come in on this side and do a little, it's that same bend from the beginning where it just shapes it a little bit more, but now we can pinch that in on either side of our bail that's on all jank. Okay. And then this one will just it looks like it's gonna like plop out the bottom, but I mean the concept is developing. Let's keep finagling with it, y'all. So we can bring our round nose pliers in and just squeeze that together. This would be a perfect opportunity to do, I'm going to come to the center of this wire because I may end up wanting to bind the ends off onto either side, but we're going to go like, oh no, I might have made it too tight. Ah, heck. There we go. There's one. I'd like to do at least 3 of these wraps just because I think that's I like that number. And I think that's a good enough reason. Okay, so there's that, and then we're going to grab it, and then we're going to pull through. I want to thank you guys for spending your time here with me today in this video. Through the wide expanse of the internet, you could be doing anything with your time, and it's such a treat to get to share these projects and designs with y'all. So thank you for being here. It's the YouTube channel has certainly grown and evolved and devolved and grown some more and all sorts of stuff over the years, and it wouldn't have been what it is without you guys. So thank you. I'm hopeful that we're kind of coming into a new chapter here on the channel with, like, I just recently tried my first TikTok live stream, and I've reopened myself to doing scary things that I didn't realize that I had been not pursuing, you know, until it's like suddenly it's like, oh my God, when did this happen? But I'm very excited to be back at it and trying new things. And it really helps that my hand is as healed as it's going to get. I'm still experiencing, aches and pains here and there, but that's what this is like hour 6 of me wire wrapping today. So I guess I could stop, but I'll stop when I'm done with this project. But I'm really hopeful that we can kind of build something, not necessarily new, because I don't want to, burn down everything that we've been doing, but I'm just, I'm excited to pursue my passions and drag y'all along with me. So again, thank you for being here. I don't exactly understand where we're going yet, but by golly, we're going. All right, so I did the 3 wraps around both and then the 5 wraps on both sides. And I'm gonna snip. And I'm gonna snip. And I'm snipping just right past where, if I'm brushing it back, I don't want to see the bare copper end. So we're just gonna burnish those down. There we go. Double check for pokey bits. No pokey bits. Awesome. So now from here, we have those cute little bends that we had done, either by accident or intentionally. This one's a little bendier than the other side. So let me see if I can get this side all bendied up too. Nope. It'll be organic. Ooh, actually, I'm going to bend both of these back. I've always wanted to try this because I see folks do like these beautiful, where it's got like a little decorative stone up at the top of the wrap, but I've never been brave to try it. And so today, instead of following along somebody else's tutorial, which would have been wise, I am just raw dogging it. I don't know if that's the correct use of that term. Never mind. And so I'm gonna bring this around just a little more. And then, because my goal is to get, you know what? I'm just going to drop that on out of there. I'm bringing this forward. We can make this nicer. Like, I have faith. And I'm going to come around to the front of our, not to the front, but okay. So there's that. So hopefully we have that shaped now. And I'm going to take this and I'm going to go ahead and do just a little bend. And then okay. And then before we wrap those together, I am going to go ahead and curve that so it can be accommodating to the front of a stone. And now we're going to take this other wire and I'm coming to the middle of it and I'm just going to wrap 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 around both of those wires to bind them together. And so now these parts down here, I'm just bending it enough that we could pass it through. And now we'll try to replace that stone into its cute drink little setting. A whole lot of smushing and squishing and just hoping that if I hold my face just right, it'll hold true. And I just feel like that's still gonna fall out. But maybe we should try just to see. Because worrying that it's going to fall out is a perfectly valid, like, worry. But we don't know till we try. So I'm going to come in and I'm going to do that turn key. And I'm going to grab on the other side and do that in the other way using my thumb to kind of press that. I'm going to press these wires out towards the back. I may use them for sewing down the sides or something. And it's got me wondering, can I do like a little prong on the bottom? Ooh, that's cute though. Just bringing this around and building up that vining. I know it seems like it's in there. I guess I'm going to split one of these wires off the back and just kind of sew it in between. Oh, that's cool. I like that. Just kind of fitting it in between where I can. And then there's 1 and 2, and now I'm going to do a third wrap. And then I'm going to come in here and I'm going to snip. And so this one's going to come around. I really liked it in between the wire and the wire. And then now we're on those 2 frame wires. We're going to go 1, 2, and 3. And then we're going to give that a little bit of a squish. And then we're going to come in and we're going to give it a snip. And again, I'm going to take this, because it seemed to not have done as much as I would have liked the first time. I'm just getting those in and then pinching the wire. There we go. I just wanted to narrow that up just a little bit because I don't want it poking out the side, but I also don't want it popping out the bottom. Oof. So this has been very challenging for me, you guys, but I am very excited to have, I think, risen to the occasion. I'm very pleased with it. It's not like perfect, but I didn't need it to be. I just wanted to do it. And so now I'm going to take this and I want to make a really tight itsy bitsy spiral. Whoop. Just like so. And I'm going to do that on both sides before I snip it, because this way I don't have to worry about, my pliers aren't going to slip and it's not going to make like a pinched part on the wire. Though, you know, we could come up this way. Nah, I'm good. You might like it on yours. You'll probably pull it off better than what I was about to, but I'm just going to get in there and snip. And then I'm going to get in there and snip. And then I like to use my flat nose pliers to just kind of wedge underneath and then squish to get that little loop in line with itself and squish. Oh yeah. And then we might do a little bit of an overbend that way. And what I mean by that is I get in there and then I bend this down just a little more. That way when I remove my pliers, it's cupping to the shape of the cab a little better. And then I'm going to bring this one around. And just build up on that base wire. I'm just making it look wrapped. I'm so interested to see if you follow along with this tutorial. Please tag me like on your social media of choice with hashtag #CraftAlongWithVon or at Back to Earth Creations. And I would just so love to see how you make your moon pendant. You can also just email me pictures at backtoearthcreations@yahoo.com. There we go. There we go. Boop. And boop. So, I mean, I guess it's a good thing that I can't make the same thing twice a lot of the times. But this is just trying to make the same thing. So many unique and interesting with the same exact materials, inclusion of a couple of different, additional beads. But those are sisters, not twins, or triplets, for sure. So let me know what you think down in the comments, if you have any questions, comments, or ideas. And I look forward to seeing y'all in our next tutorial. We have, you can sign up for our free newsletter at backtoearthcreations.com. We do currently at the time of streaming, or at the time of recording, we stream every Monday, Tuesday, and Friday. You can find an up-to-date schedule of events whenever it is that you're watching this in time and space. You can find that at backtoearthcreations.com at the bottom of our homepage. But this was a lot of fun. Thank you guys so much for being here. Oh, we also have our Happy Crafter Club. If you'd like to support the creation of more free tutorials, as well as get your hands on the same materials that we use in our artwork. That way, and like our fused glass cabochons and stuff as well. Yeah, there's more about that down in the video description, but I will see y'all next time. So until then, new tutorials every Thursday. I've got to make a better outro, you guys. Happy crafting, y'all. Bye.